Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Sportscaster and Her Son, where sports bridges the gap between the generations. I'm your co-host, 12-time Emmy award-winning broadcaster, Peggy Kaczynski from ESPN Radio Chicago. I'm the mom, I'm the sportscaster, and I'm the baby boomer.
And I am the other co-host. My name is Jason Conander. I am a junior at the University of Texas at Austin. There I'm super involved in Texas student television. I'm a host, I'm a reporter, and I'm the men's basketball producer. Super excited for tomorrow. Huge game against Gonzaga. I will be out at the Moody Center. It's going to be an unbelievable environment. I'm so excited.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone who has followed us on YouTube, on our website, who has listened to us on the ESPN Chicago app. Please continue to download and to follow us and to tell your friends, especially that we have the new home on the ESPN Chicago app. And don't forget that you can also get some of our fan merchandise at our store on TeePublic. You can see it running across the bottom of the screen here on our YouTube site. And if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or the ESPN Chicago app, you can go to our website, thesportscasterandherson.com, and there's a link there to our little merchandise store. So, okay, Jason, in this episode, Michael Vick became the first NFL quarterback to rush for 1,000 yards. Lamar Jackson holds the record with 1,026 yards for a quarterback, but Justin Fields, well, this guy is quickly running up on both of these guys.
Who saw this coming?
I know through 10 weeks in the season, I mean, it is really crazy. He has broken so many records the last 2 weeks, most rushing yards ever by an NFL quarterback in a regular season game, most by a Chicago Bears quarterback, breaking multiple team records, including Bobby Douglas. So this is just amazing. We keep hearing every week more records that he's breaking. I don't know how many more there are for him, but it's really been a pretty incredible streak.
And, you know, it's been the perfect storm for the Bears. When we did our Bears preview, one of my predictions was that the Bears wouldn't win very many games, but there would not be any doubt in our minds as Bears fans and followers that Justin Fields would be the guy. And right now, that's the position that the Bears are in. Justin Fields is on an unbelievable tear. He's putting up huge numbers, and it hasn't just been running the football. I mean, running the football has been how he's been breaking records, but he's still top 10 in passing efficiency, passing touchdowns in the past month plus. So to see those numbers that he's putting up is just absolutely awesome, and it's not hurting the Bears draft stock, and the long running touchdowns are pretty darn exciting to watch. So I can't complain. I don't think any Bears fan has any complaint for what Justin Fields has done this year so far.
They figured out how to use him. The question is
with what they have. I don't know if this is what he'll be like next year.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is that, you know, they're figuring out how to use him. He is an incredible athlete. He is doing things we've never seen done by a quarterback before. And I think it's, you know, it's just over halfway point of the season. There's more to come from Justin Fields, and especially when it comes to the passing game. And that's the area that he is going to have to work on the most. And, you know, I don't know if he has to prove it to people, but Lamar Jackson has proved it to people that he can sit in the pocket and he can pass when they need to, because that's what teams are doing is they're waiting until the fourth quarter when they have to put 10 or 11 in the box. That's what they're going to do so that Justin Fields cannot beat them. And 2 straight weeks, that's what's happened. The Bears had an opportunity to score, to take the game, and they couldn't get in the end zone because they zeroed in on Justin Fields.
Yeah, and when you look at Justin Fields' progression, he wasn't exactly like this in college. He was used a lot more in the pocket at Ohio State. Obviously, he had the offensive line and the receivers to complement that. But when you look at the type of quarterback that he has developed into, this caters very well to today's NFL. You look at some of the most successful teams in the league. Philadelphia Eagles are 8-1 with a running quarterback. Buffalo Bills are one of the best teams in the league with a running quarterback. So to see that this is something that is working in the NFL, it seems to be the direction that the quarterback position is moving in. The Bears have their guy. They have their guy. It seems like they have their scheme. Let's just hope that all the hits that he's taking in meaningless games right now don't take a toll a year or two down the line.
Well, the number of sacks have gone down because he is scrambling and he's getting away from these guys. Yeah. So that's what's been interesting. He's been clocked at 22 miles per hour. I mean, it's really unbelievable. So I'm looking forward to seeing what else he can do. Hey, Jason, let's just bring in our guest, a name that you're going to hear a lot of this year, especially as Justin Fields continues to keep running like he's been doing the last 5 games. He is number 10, the Lefty. Former Bears quarterback Bobby Douglas joins us on the Sportscaster and Her Son. Bobby, how are you? It's so great to see you because we have read your name a lot lately this season with Justin Fields.
Good to see you, It's been a while, so happy to be here.
Thank you. So I want to bring our listeners and our followers up. In 6 seasons, you played with the Bears from 1969 to 75. It was your 4th season when you rushed for 968 yards. You had a long run of 57 yards back in 1972. When you broke the rushing record, was that against the Lions? Do you remember that game? At that point, or by a quarterback. Was that Greg Landry's record that you originally broke?
Yeah, but he only had around 500 some yards, so I broke it. I broke it pretty early in the season, actually. In fact, I remember Abe Gibran telling me that the last game of the season I had quite a few yards, and they didn't know I was close to 1,000. He said I'd have run you a couple times and you got 1,000, but anyway, no big deal.
Tell me, like with Abe Gibran, did coaches know what to do with you? Were you always running a scrambling quarterback? I mean, did they know how to use you?
That's a really good question, and it's an interesting situation. Back when I played, Greg Landry ran a little bit. Trying to think, not too many other guys. Archie ran some. Few guys that I could think of probably. But anyway, and as it got into the late 70s, more guys started running a little more. But when I came in, you really weren't supposed to run and scramble or whatever. But of course, our team, we had lost a real good right tackle, and Wayne Mass to a ski accident. And then another guy had retired, a guy named Bob Wataska. So our offensive line was kind of down. In fact, after the 3rd or 4th game, we'd lost 3 or 4 in a row. They decided to go ahead and play me that year. So that was 69. So I scrambled quite a bit. I had over 500 yards that year scrambling. I believe I had at least that much. I played like 8, 9 games. And so I scrambled a lot. We didn't have any running plays. So to your point, Abe, when he came in, we did have a few running plays for the quarterback. We didn't roll out as much as we probably should have. Again, the way the game was played then was different. And although you did have some rollouts and a few things, you didn't have the type of situations then that you do now. Now, as you know, the reason that the quarterbacks run now, or you don't know probably, but you'll understand it. We now, first of all, you can block quite a bit differently than you could back in the early 70s. As we went through the 70s, now they can use their hands. They can put their arms straight out. You couldn't move your arm more than 6 inches. Blocking was pretty difficult for linemen until they changed those rules. So the rule changes, and then, of course, the fact that the defensive backs can no longer hit you anywhere on the field, which you could when I played. As you know, those 2 rules alone, then they put in a lot more. Can't even touch a quarterback today. And I'm not saying that's a bad rule. Those are all good rules that have helped the game. But what they've done, they put more scoring in the game because the field is now spread out. Guys can run around without getting hit. So you're going to have more passing and better passing, as we all see in the statistics. If you threw the ball 30 times a game, when I played my first 4 or 5 years, wow, that was a lot of passes. Today, I doubt there's a game. Well, there's a few, but very few games where they don't throw a lot. And they throw a lot of short passes. And so what it's done is it's opened the field up. So when you have a quarterback that has some athletic ability, now Justin Fields has tremendous athletic ability. I don't think it'll be long before he's gaining anywhere from 600-700 to 1,000 yards a year. I should say 17 games now also. So the game is more wide open. That gives a quarterback, remember, Now we've got 5 guys running down the field to catch passes, right? Fast guys. You don't have fullbacks. Sometimes you don't have running backs. You got wide receivers, all of them. Now, you usually have a tight end in there, but tight ends can all run today. So what happens is those guys are running down the field. They're running away from the quarterback. Quarterback gets a little hole and run and scrambles. He's got a lot of room. He's going to make 5-10 yards easy. And then if you're a good runner, have some speed, which is why you see faster quarterbacks now than you ever did 40 years ago. So all of those rule changes have made a huge difference in the ability of a quarterback to make yards. Right.
My question with that is, what were these running plays like? So what did the running plays look like? You said that the quarterbacks weren't supposed to run that often, but you didn't roll out as much. So were these all scrambles? How many were designed running plays? Like, what did the running plays when you were out of the pocket and you're running downfield, what did they look like compared to what now they look like with Justin Fields and Jalen Hurts and all the running
Well, good question again. I probably ran what we had kind of a crazy option play. I'd fake to the fullback. It was kind of the old T option play. We did that maybe, 2 or 3 times a game. Most of what I did, 70% was probably scrambling or, rolling out. We did have some rollouts where I might run, but not like they do today. The other day you saw what Justin can do when they just fake, boom. I think the first play of the game was 28 yards or something like that.
Yep.
My memory's not that good, so. But I think it was around a 28-yard play or something, as I remember. As you know what he did, he just faked, defensive end, kind of went inside, boom. He was gone around the end for 28 yards. We didn't do that. I wish we could have. I would have gained 1,500 yards a year because I could take the punishment just like he can. He's a big guy, and that's the difference today. You've got a different style quarterback, guys that can run. Now, we had some that could run, but they probably weren't going to run them like they might today. And you still have to be careful, obviously. But the scrambling part is what really has opened up. And that's because you got guys running down the field, 5 of them on most second and long, third and long plays. So that quarterback really has an advantage in being able to scramble.
I want to jump in real quick, Jason, and just because of you, Bobby, you mentioned your size. Justin Fields is 6'3", 228 pounds, almost exactly to what you played at, 6'4", 225, correct?
Well, I was actually 6'5", about 235.
Oh, wow. That's another inch on you then.
Back then, they didn't have as many PR people, so they didn't make changes to our. They never changed. I actually grew through college. Went from about 6'3" to 6'5", and of course, I never wanted anybody to think I was 6'5".
Right.
So I said I was 6'4", but I did weigh. No, I weighed well over 230.
But one of the things that Justin Fields played baseball, he is an athlete. What other sports did you play, and did they try to get you not to play quarterback?
Hey, remember I played for the White Sox.
How did I forget that?
No, I wasn't a superstar player, but I played AAA, and with Tony La Russa was a manager, and I was throwing quite a bit. No, I could have played Major League Baseball. I had a chance to do that many times, but I wanted to play football, and I probably should have played baseball because I'm left-handed, and I threw the ball 100 miles an hour. So no, I was a good baseball player. Better than good. I was a really good baseball player. But I was an athlete, and as Justin is, as most of the athletes are that are doing this today, Murray and all the other quarterbacks, they're athletes. Yeah, we're all pretty good athletes. You don't have a guy that probably didn't play basketball, could have run track. I ran track, played baseball, played basketball, of course. Actually played a year of college basketball at Kansas, but just as a freshman. So all these athletes are capable of doing all that.
Go ahead, Jace.
So you also mentioned the punishment that you take as a running quarterback, and that it'll be about if Justin Fields is able to take that punishment. From your experience as a running quarterback, what is the punishment that you take? Like, what do these hits feel like a couple of years down the line? Do you feel the effects of taking more hits than the average quarterback, as somebody who runs more gets hit more than the average quarterback?
Well, I'm not sure you're going to get hit that much more, because you're going to get hit in the pocket. So when you're scrambling, you're going to get hit. You might get a little different type hit. That's a good question, because I don't think statistically anybody's really done a 20-year look at that. I never got hurt one time getting hit in professional football.
Wow.
I never went out of the game but one time, and that was when I got the wind knocked out of me. It wasn't because I got hurt. I was back in the next play.
Wow.
I did hurt my knee my fourth or fifth year, and had to come out. I did end up playing the rest of the season, which I shouldn't have. They should have operated. I had a cartilage and a cruciate ligament that blew out. But I did play for the next, not that rest of the Detroit game when I got hurt, but I got hurt on the turf. I made a cut. You know what a cut is? I made a little move and went to my right, as I remember, and it blew out. Sometimes when you hit that AstroTurf, especially that turf that we had on Soldiers Field back in that day, which isn't the same kind they use today, which is a good thing. They have the kind of a turf that moves more, so your foot doesn't get stuck. I don't know if you remember, but the Bears had a wide receiver that blew out both knees in one play. What was his name?
Was that Wendell? Was that Wendell? Wendell Smith with the yeah.
So the turf, has caused plenty of injuries to everybody. But a quarterback takes care of himself. I really don't see Justin. It's not always size, by the way. It isn't height, or you're athletic. You're working out year round. You're well muscled, which all the athletes are today. So, it isn't just Justin, because he does have some size, which means he can probably run over some people once in a while if he needs to.
Bobby, let's talk about Justin Fields. What has it been like for you watching the Bears games? Is it a little bit of deja vu? Is it fun hearing your name keep coming up every time Justin Fields breaks a record and they talk about the Bears records?
Well, he hadn't broke that many yet, but he just broke the single game. But yeah, they're talking about him breaking my 960 whatever yards it was. So yeah, I mean it's deja vu. But you know what? I've been watching football, pros, college, ever since I played. So I watch all games. So I get a lot of times when I say, well, boy, it'd been fun if I'd have been in that situation or something. Like you do that as an ex-athlete all the time. But no, I mean, it's I'm a Bears fan, so I'm happy that that they have a guy that's as good an athlete as he is, that will be able to do things. They got to get some more people around him. He's got to get used to that offense. They have to make that offense, especially for him, so because it's a little different than it would be for other athletes. And that takes time. You don't do that overnight. It makes a difference. Guys that play a long time, for the most part, experience is what gets them those extra years. So when he gets some experience in the next couple years, it'll make a big difference.
There aren't very many 50-year-old records that still stand in the NFL, because the NFL, compared to some other leagues, is a pretty young league. I think when I look at that, I think it's kind of emblematic of the quarterback position for the Bears. Can you speak on that a little bit? Because it seems like there's a stigma around the quarterback position from the Bears. Do you think what does it mean to be the quarterback of the Chicago Bears, and why is it such a daunting task that it seems like nobody has really been able to figure it out in the past decades?
I don't think they cap everybody that they should have. Harbaugh Harbaugh went and had great years. I don't know if anybody remembers this. I would only know it because I know some football. Bobby Lane was a fabulous quarterback in Detroit. He played here. Now you've got other guys that have been pretty good quarterbacks when they left. So, I mean, I can't give you all of them, but let's face it. They've had some pretty good athletes and pretty good quarterbacks. If I would have played with Walter for 5 years and been able to do what they do now, where they fake to the running back and then what he did on that 28-yard play the other day. If I could have done that with Walter, oh my God, I think we'd have probably gained thousands of yards. But they weren't doing that. I was here Walter's first year and couldn't wait to play with him. But Jim Finch decided that he took over that year, and he decided, well, I'm gonna, when you get, I'll never forget. Someone said something about being booed. I said, you're gonna get booed if you lose. I don't care who you are, whether it's me or not. Now I was a little more controversial, but so I think Finch just wanted to start all over. I think that's what a lot of times has happened in Chicago. I think that happened with Harbaugh. They shouldn't have got rid of Harbaugh. Why would you get rid of Harbaugh? He went out and had 5 great years, I think, after he left the Bears, right? Now, there are some other examples, but, because quarterbacks haven't stayed here. McMahon, I think what did Jim play here, 9 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, other than Sid Luckman, who played all his career, which was 12, 13 years, I don't know. There hadn't. So a lot of it has to do with the organization, to be honest with you. If they want to keep you and they want to train you, if they think you're a good enough athlete, they're going to do it.
All right, Bobby, the great debate with Justin Fields is that he needs to prove himself as a passer. Do you agree?
No. He doesn't have to prove himself as a passer. He'll be a good passer. He can throw the ball. Every quarterback that plays in the pros has to become a better thrower of the ball. The passing game is going to work if he gets good people around him and they run a good offense. He has the ability to throw it. Now, I'm not going to say that in 2 years that. No, I mean, another couple years, but from what I've seen, he has no problem throwing the football. He's making good throws. The more he learns that offense, the better he'll throw the ball. And of course, don't forget, you need a few good guys around you. That's really important in football, and that kind of gets lost by the press, I must say, and the fans. I went back and looked at 1 year when I only hit about not even 50% maybe in my passes. I think I had 40 passes dropped.
Wow.
Which would have. Now, I threw the ball hard, but there's a lot of guys throw it hard. Allen throws it hard too. Mm-hmm. And they drop a couple of his passes. Elway threw it hard. Guys that I remember that really had great arms. So if you don't have the receivers, and if you're throwing the ball, we used to throw the ball deep so much. You don't hit deep balls very often. You hit a few. You hit all the short stuff, which is what all quarterbacks need to learn to do, although most of them are learning it now in college. So it makes a difference, about the people you got around you.
Jason, you have one last question for Bobby Douglas, and I know what this is going to be about.
So you attended the University of Kansas. I currently attend the University of Texas at Austin. On Saturday, Kansas will play Texas. What's your prediction for the game? Is Kansas going to beat Texas again, crush our hearts for the second year in a row?
Well, it's at Texas.
No.
No. Yeah, KU's got them at home. In fact, I was going to go to that game, but I had something I had to do. I think it's an pretty even game. Kansas is playing pretty well right their defense is, you know, not as good as I thought it was going to be, but they're a much better football team. It'll be a pretty even game, I think.
I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. But yeah, what is it? They playing an afternoon?
Probably, I believe it's an 11 a.m. kickoff. Probably 11 a.m. because Texas lost. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't set that until today, I don't think, but because I know they don't set it until early in the week. But
yeah,
okay. Yeah,
Bobby, we really appreciate your time. I look forward to the day that you get to meet Justin Fields and you guys shake hands as, two of the greatest quarterbacks, not just rushing quarterbacks, but two of the greatest quarterbacks in Bears history. It has been a joy to catch up with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Listen, thank you guys. I enjoyed the questions, and I hope you'll give me a call again. Thanks.
I really love when we get to talk to some of the former players and coaches in the NFL, especially when it comes to the Chicago Bears. So, okay, Jason, how about some predictions?
Okay, number one prediction. This is going to be right from the top, very thematic with everything we've been talking about, running quarterbacks, Justin Fields, etc. I saw a really interesting tweet from Dan Orlovsky, of all people, this week. He has been very pessimistic on Justin Fields. Of course, that rhetoric, as most rhetorics have around Justin Fields, has changed. And he said that Justin Fields should be mentioned in the MVP conversation. While I don't agree with that, I do think that the numbers that Justin Fields is putting up can be looked past the Bears record, and I think that he will be named a Pro Bowler this year. Did anybody see that coming before the season? Absolutely not. I think that the numbers are undeniable. I think that they're Pro Bowl numbers. He's on pace to break NFL records. So being a Pro Bowler is a must. My number two prediction, the MLB offseason is just beginning to start. We actually had our first signing not too long ago. I'm going to predict that Jose Abreu will leave the White Sox, but he won't leave Chicago. I'm going to predict that he is going to sign with the Chicago Cubs. I have actually heard quite a bit connecting him to the Cubs. He loves the city of Chicago. Cubs have an open spot in the middle of that order at first base. Frank Schwindel is not the answer. Jose Abreu on a 1 to 3 year deal likely is. So Jose Abreu to the Cubs is my prediction, but definitely do not rule out Anthony Rizzo there. Number three, I know that we're not too high on college football in this show, but I mean, it being in the heart of Texas, I cannot ignore college football, and I love the sport. And as somebody that grew up a TCU fan, I never thought that I would be making this prediction. But as they sit here 10-0, fresh off a primetime win on the road right in front of my face at the University of Texas, I'm going to predict that TCU will win their next two regular season games, finish 12-0, and then win the Big 12 championship and enter the college football playoff undefeated, the first Big 12 team since Jalen Hurts in Oklahoma to make the college football playoff. So nobody saw that coming for TCU, by the way, Mom. I know you don't follow college football, but they were right above Kansas at the bottom of the Big 12 poll going into this year. So absolutely like the Cinderella run of all Cinderella runs in college football.
It's been exciting to watch. Well, I will predict that Justin Fields breaks the 1,000-yard rushing mark this season, and he joins that club. In my final thoughts, I say that I hope that he breaks Lamar Jackson's 1,200-yard rushing record. But he'll only do it if the weapons that Ryan Poles has given him actually become more useful and make their presence known. And we're talking about Byron Pringle, N'Keal Harry, Chase Claypool. These guys are all on the roster, but Velus Jones Jr. Both Velus Jones Jr. and N'Keal Harry were actually not activated for the game against the Lions. And that just can't happen. You need to have every single weapon available so that teams can not only zero in on Justin Fields. Now, if those guys, along with Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet, like I said, Velus Jones Jr., the draft pick who was a healthy scratch, had 2 muffed punts, a drop deep ball on offense. Now, if these guys can all contribute, that will keep defenses honest. And here's the big one. If the offensive line can somehow keep him healthy, like you just said, yes, he will break the record, but that is a big if. I hope he does it. I hope he does it in 16 games like Michael Vick and Lamar Jackson did it. Bobby Douglas set his 968-yard record in 1972 when the NFL played 14 games in a season. So it would be even better if, let's say, Justin Fields did it week 14. That would be the Philadelphia Eagles.
Philadelphia. I thought you were going to say Green Bay.
No, that would be just after the bye week against the NFL's best team right now, the Philadelphia Eagles. So, all right. Well, that'll do it for this episode. I want to thank our guest, Bobby Douglas, Lefty, joining us. It was so fun to reminisce with him and introduce our listeners and our viewers to this name and Bears lore that we keep hearing about for so long. So thank you to him. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in as always, whether it's the ESPN Chicago app or whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts or watching us on our YouTube channel as well. Continue to follow us, download us, tell your friends, and don't forget to check out the sportscasterandherson.com. Jason, we also have Twitter.
Yeah, we have a Twitter at TSAHS Pod on Twitter. That is where I will be tweeting out clips from our shows, tweeting out the links, and that's where you can see how you can get our shows on the ESPN 1000 app. On the topic of Twitter, it is the month of November. For the second straight November, I'm participating in Movember, so No Shave November, benefiting men's health at the University of Texas. So I will put something up at some time this week for a little donate link. Until I raise a certain amount of money, I can't shave, and people keep asking me to shave. So as much as I like my mustache, it needs to go eventually. So please help me out if you can.
Well, I'd love to help you out and do the same thing, but I think people would be grossed out if I let my mustache grow it. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Good job, Jason.
That's disgusting.
Love you, buddy. Take care. We'll talk to you guys soon.